You do not start as a prompt engineer, you start as someone who types faster than the room thinks. You have a laptop, a login, and a number that makes people at dinner parties go quiet. $300,000 a year. You say it once and watch faces recalibrate. The job title sounds abstract. The work sounds simple. Neither impression is correct. You sit in a glass building somewhere between San Francisco and the cloud, and you talk to machines all day. You ask them questions, you argue with them. You coax and steer and rewrite until the output looks like something a human would be proud of. Companies pay extraordinary sums for that skill right now. The market says you are valuable. You believe the market. That is your first mistake. The year is somewhere in the mid-2020s. Generative AI is no longer a novelty. It runs customer service desks, writes legal briefs, drafts code for junior engineers who used to cost less than you. Entire departments have been restructured around it. Restructured is the word companies use. The other word is eliminated. You know this. Everyone in your building knows this. Nobody says it in meetings. You are the person who speaks to the AI directly, who knows how to phrase the instruction set so the model stops hallucinating law firm names. That knowledge pays your mortgage. That knowledge also has a shelf life, and the shelf is shorter than your lease. You are not oblivious. You are just well compensated enough to stay seated. Your actual day begins early. You open a browser. You log into a dashboard that tracks model outputs across the company's product line. There are flags. There are always flags. A customer-facing chatbot told a user their refund was approved when it was not. Another model generated a paragraph so confident and so wrong that a product manager forwarded it to legal with no subject line. These are your problems now. You write a new prompt, you test it 30 times, you document the results in a shared spreadsheet that 3 people look at and 12 people ignore. You write a second prompt, you compare outputs side by side, you note which phrasing reduces the hallucination rate by 11%, you add that finding to a report nobody requested but everyone will reference later without attribution. This is skilled work. It is also invisible. Work. The executives who approved your salary see the fixed chatbot. They do not see the 40 iterations you ran at midnight. You learn fast that the job has 2 layers. The visible layer is the product. The invisible layer is you, crouched beneath it, adjusting variables that the product cannot adjust for itself. No one thanks the layer they cannot see. They thank the output. You are not the output. You are the scaffolding holding it up, and scaffolding comes down when the building stands on its own. Your team is small. There are 6 of you. 2 came from linguistics, 1 came from philosophy, 1 spent a decade doing UX research. You came from technical writing, which nobody in leadership fully understands but everyone claims to respect. The team has no formal reporting line that makes sense. You sit between engineering and product. Both sides think you belong to the other. That ambiguity once felt like freedom. Now it feels like exposure. When budgets tighten, departments cut the people whose value is hardest to quantify. You have watched it happen twice in 18 months at other companies. You watched it on LinkedIn, which is where your industry conducts its public grief. A former colleague posts that she is open to opportunities. You like the post. You move on. You do not think about what it means yet. Inside the office, you navigate a triangle of influence that can close around you fast. At the top sits the engineering lead who controls model access and hates when non-engineers have opinions about architecture. Below him sits the VP of product who likes your outputs but cannot explain your function to the board. The board wants headcount rationalization. That phrase means something specific. You know what it means. You use careful language around it because careless language about automation sounds bad when your job is automation adjacent. The irony is loud. You help the machine displace workers and call it optimization. You attend the all hands where leadership announces another round of workforce transitions. You nod in the right places. The question of what you actually produce haunts you quietly. You produce better outputs, you produce fewer errors, you save the company from certain categories of embarrassment. These contributions are real. The accounting system has no row for them. When the CFO asks the VP of engineering what the prompt team delivered this quarter, the answer involves a spreadsheet that points at other numbers. You are not in those numbers directly. You are the invisible layer beneath the product that product managers present as their own roadmap execution. The AI receives the credit. The engineers receive the roadmap item. You receive a Slack message that says great work. You do not receive equity refreshes at the rate the model trainers do. You do not hold a technical domain that cannot be replicated quickly and cheaply. Your domain can be replicated. That is the structural problem with your position, and you feel it most clearly during performance reviews. Your manager likes you. Your manager also cannot defend your compensation to his manager without invoking outcomes that belong officially to the product team. You are useful in ways that do not fit the promotion rubric. Being useful in ways that do not fit the rubric is a precarious form of employment. Companies keep you when budgets are generous. They reconsider when they are not. Right now, budgets are generous. Right now is a condition, not a guarantee. Every model release changes the math slightly. The version you trained with 2 years ago required careful prompt architecture. System prompts had to be structured precisely. Chain of thought formatting had to be explicit. The model would drift badly without guardrails you built manually. That version made you necessary. The current version handles prompt chaining natively. It corrects its own instruction interpretation on multi-step tasks. It catches ambiguous inputs and requests clarification instead of hallucinating forward. These are improvements the engineering team announces in internal release notes with genuine excitement. You read those notes carefully. Each improvement is a quiet argument that your expertise is becoming common, not worthless yet, common. When a skill becomes common, it stops commanding $300,000 annually. The market that rewarded scarcity begins to reward something else. You update your prompt library. You document new edge cases. You learn the new version's quirks the way you learned the old version's quirks. You stay ahead. You stay ahead by a margin that narrows with each update, and each update arrives faster than the one before it. Outside your building, the replacement is accelerating in ways you do not discuss openly. Factory floor supervisors in Ohio are being asked to retrain for roles that do not exist yet. Radiologists in hospital networks are learning that AI flags more anomalies per hour than any human review team can match. Paralegals are watching billable work migrate into automated review systems that charge a fraction of hourly rates. Customer service headcount has dropped across industries by percentages that research firms publish in charts your company shares internally as evidence of market momentum. The language around all of this is always careful. Transition, augmentation, efficiency, gain. You use that language too. You use it in presentations to leadership. You believe some of it. The rest you push to the back of the drawer. You tell yourself the distinction matters. You work with the machine. You are not replaced by it. You are the human in the loop, the judgment layer, the final check on outputs that would otherwise go out raw and dangerous. That framing holds. It holds less firmly each quarter. The latest model handles edge cases your predecessor spent months cataloging manually. It self-corrects at rates that your error reduction metrics cannot outrun. You are still in the loop. The loop is shorter now. It will be shorter still by the time your next performance review lands on your manager's calendar. Your badge still opens the turnstile. Your name still appears on the org chart. The number in your account remains large, and you keep arriving early, and the path behind you has grown considerably longer than the one still visible ahead.